welcome to
the QSD of
HR.
episode 27. We're back in the studio. We did have a interview planned for this episode, but unfortunately that's had to be delayed. So this is our fill-in episode instead. And we are going to talk about some sort of crazy and unusual ideas for weapons. Now, we don't really want to glorify weapons, do we?
No.
Obviously, when they're used in anger or for warfare, they can be really abhorrent.
Yeah, but they're just quite interesting, and I like making models, and so do you. So they're cool to play around with. Well, not the real thing.
Yeah.
Models and little bits like that are cool to play around with.
Yeah, exactly. There's something that seems to have caught the imagination of people since times immemorial. And there seems to be a natural human desire to compete and fight, doesn't there? Mm-hmm. And probably when I was about your age, Anton, there was the first Gulf War, so Operation Desert Storm. And that was kind of really exciting to watch on TV. Even though now I'm older and I can think about it at a deeper level, you realise that maybe it wasn't quite so nice as these tanks just rushing in. But there was actually a sticker album, so you know Match Attacks?
Yep.
Yeah, basically the equivalent.
Panini.
Yeah, the equivalent of that was the Desert Storm sticker album for me. And I completed it. I got every sticker.
Oh, well done.
I was the only person in school to do that.
Only person in school. Congrats.
I'm thankful that I've never had to experience war firsthand, and I hope that you never will too.
No, I don't want to either.
But during times of conflict, some people get the most ridiculous and crazy ideas for really stupid weapons. So we're looking at some of the most insane ones ever thought of. What motivated people to design such destructive ideas? Desperation? Psychotic tendencies, maybe? Is it just a few individuals who lead this, or are we all comparable? Are we all guilty of wanting to be in control and to hold power over our fellow man?
Dun, dun, dun. I think for this episode we're going to need to use the time machine again, but it's a little bit rusty, so we might have to do some repairs.
That's a good idea, actually, so we can actually travel back and see some of these weapons in use way back in ancient history. And I think maybe we should kind of compare weapons and see who can get the silliest idea.
Okay then.
Okay, are you ready?
Maybe we should rate them on silly scale.
Sounds like a good idea to me. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go to battle over weapons.
Stupid weapons.
Do you mind if I go first?
Ladies first.
Oh, that's fighting talk. So we're going to go back to a few years after Alexander the Great died, and his empire was fragmented, all his generals fighting for dominance. Now, as you may know, Alexander's army was undefeated in battle, and they were some of the finest soldiers of their age. So how do you go about fighting against them? Well,
Lose.
lose, yeah. One of Alexander's generals, Antigonus, who had actually served under Philip of Macedon, so that's Alexander's dad, had a son called Demetrius. He'd been on campaign with his father, but he wasn't exactly what you call an experienced leader, and he was only aged 22 when Antigonus asked him to defend Syria for him.
That's a bit of a big ask.
Yes, that's against some of the other generals. And it didn't really start that well for him, because he lost to Ptolemy in the Battle of Gaza, and he was also defeated when he tried to attack Babylon.
I'm not surprised.
But he was undeterred, and he actually started to gain some successes and victories. So this is like this young lad who's come up against these very fearsome and successful generals.
Yeah.
And he's doing his dad proud here. And I think because of that, he probably got a bit of a big head. And along with a big head, he also got a very large attraction to massive weapons. And one of those was a 55-metre long battering ram.
Why? How would that even work properly, though?
Well, how many people do you think it would need to crew it or move it?
400. Maybe.
1,000. Yeah, over double what you said. But maybe if you're attacking the walls of Babylon, that's the kind of weapon you need.
I guess so.
But we're not actually here for that battering ram because it's not that big, it's not that impressive. There's something much better than that. Enter the Heliopolis, or the Taker of Cities. Now this was a massive siege tower, 20 metres wide and 40 tall, and it was created for the siege of Rhodes. It weighed 160 tons. Now, what's a modern battle tank weigh, roughly?
60-ish tons. So that's 100 more.
Exactly, yeah. So over double the weight of a modern-day battle tank. And like a tank, it was armoured. But it was actually a timber frame covered in iron plates, so maybe not quite as impressive as a tank.
Or a battering ram. But it's still pretty big.
Well, it's bigger than it's more impressive than the battering ram, I think.
I guess maybe you could mount the battering ram on the bottom of it.
Yeah, they did have some battering rams at the front.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to know about its armament?
Okay then.
It had two 82 kilogram catapults, 4 27 kilogram catapults, 10 14 kilogram catapults, and 4 dart throwers, which were at the top, and they could kind of fire darts down at the people defending the walls of the cities.
That's quite funny. It's like these heavy catapults and then some dart throwers.
And then imagine all the soldiers up there as well with their arrows and their spears and all sorts of things attacking. Now, the catapults themselves, they were protected behind mechanically adjustable shutters, which were lined with wool and seaweed, I think in little sacks or bags, which would make them fireproof.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty kind of clever bit of engineering. So it's something that people would forget about. It's just how good engineers some of these ancient cultures were.
Yeah.
Then inside there are multiple floors, and as I said, loads and loads of soldiers in there as well. So the total crew for the Helopolis was about 3,400. That included like the soldiers to go up though, not just operating it.
Yeah.
Even with 8 4.5 metre tall wheels, the monstrous contraption moved very, very slowly and was very vulnerable to attack. It's just so heavy. Imagine moving that.
I can't.
Actually, our last episode on oxen, after we'd recorded, I found another picture of a whole team of oxen pulling a windmill. And I can imagine something similar here.
It was quite funny.
So Demetrius, he planned on using his massive contraption to attack Rhodes, but his attack wasn't actually successful. And there are a couple of different accounts of the failure. So I used my preferred one, which is told by Vitruvius, and he was a Roman author, architect and engineer, who said that the Rhodians begged Diogenes, who was also the architect of Rhodes.
I think it's Diogenes.
Diogenes, okay.
Yeah.
He was one of the main architects of Rhodes. You can understand why the Roman architect favoured this story.
Yeah.
And he was begged to find a way to capture the Helopolis. And his plan was to make a hole in the wall and a channel through which they could funnel water and sewerage outside of the city. So that would go into soak into the ground. Then when the massive siege tower came along to attack it, it'd get bogged down in all the mud.
Oh, that's quite clever. That also does remind me of when the Romans were attacking England. I think I told you this before. The land was really marshy and hard to walk through, so they decided to use stilts to get through it.
Oh, yeah.
But then the Celts and tribes would just chop the stilts and maybe chop them up at that time.
Imagine that, the legions going in on stilts. That's quite funny.
Yeah, it's a funny picture.
Yeah, so the massive tower got bogged down in the mud and it was abandoned. So what do you think happened to it after that?
Was it burnt? No, he had to capture it. I don't know.
Well, it was captured and they actually salvaged the metal, and with all the materials and things they got, so they could sell some and they could melt more down, and they used it to create the Colossus of Rhodes, which is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Mm-hmm. There's a picture there. Ignore the winky on that statue. Yeah, so this is a massive towering statue over the entrance to Rhodes. Mm-hmm. Some depictions show it spanning the port, the way into the harbour, but that's probably not true. I think after about 80 years, it was destroyed by an earthquake. There were plans to rebuild it as well recently. But this wasn't the end of Demetrius and his super weapons. He actually built another Helopolis for the siege of Thebes, and this one he mounted on 2 quintereme warships.
Those are massive warships. That's quite funny.
So that's my first weapon. So how would you rate it on a scale of silliness? 1 to 10, maybe?
I would probably only rate it like a 4.
Yeah, it's not really that silly or crazy. It's just large, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I guess you could say it's a crazy idea and just unbelievably large.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, do you have any weapons then? I'll let you take control of the time machine.
A couple. Okay then, let's head to World War II, where we have the pigeon bomb and the bat bombs.
Okay. So are these real pigeons and bats?
Yes, they're not toys. My first weapon is Project Pigeon. This was a bomb with pigeons in the nose, and they basically acted as pilots and guided the bomb to its target. So I guess you could say they were missiles, like guided missiles, in a way.
Like the first one, because actually pigeons, they got that magnetic kind of sensor in their nose, like homing pigeons, that allows them to... actually don't want a homing pigeon, so let's fly the bomb home. Okay, that's an interesting idea. Do you know if that was used or not?
I don't think it did. I think it was became obsolete because newer electronic guidance systems were much better.
More sensible.
Yep. Because they were homing, but they didn't go home.
Yes.
Anyway, next we'll go on to the bat bombs, which were bombs with lots of bats in, and they had little explosives connected to them, and they would roost in the houses of Japan and find a place to kind of rest. Then the explosives will explode and then blow up and destroy the wooden houses and cause an inferno in the Japanese cities.
Yeah, so I've actually heard of this one before, and the plan would be you would have a bomb full of bats, and they have to be kept cool, I think, so that it would remain asleep inside the weapon itself, and it'd be dropped over a city in Japan was the plan. And as Anton said, they would then roost in the houses and explode, which is kind of a interesting idea. But actually, when they tested this weapon at one of the ranges in America, the bats flew back to the airbase where they're testing it, and they actually started roosting around the airbase and causing a bit of destruction there. So not the best idea.
No, that's like the anti-tank dogs that I'll get into later.
Yeah, so I'm not sure animals are particularly sensible mechanisms for weapon delivery then.
No, but as we can see here, humans aren't very reliable either because they're creating some really ridiculous things.
That's true. So should we rate these ones then? Let's rate them together.
Yeah, bat bombs and pigeon bombs. I think the bat bombs was actually not a bad idea. But so I'm only going to give it a 2.
What? You think... Okay, I would be more of a 7, I reckon, on that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just thinking differently.
You're thinking outside the box.
But the pigeon bombs was a little bit... I'm not sure what people were thinking, but I guess if somebody studied pigeons, they would know more. So I'm going to give that a 6.
Okay, yeah. I am going to take control of the time machine again, please.
Okay, over to you.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to head back to classical times again here, but a little bit later than Alexander the Great. I'm going to go to Rome in the time of Nero. And this comes from the 12 Caesars by Gaius Suetonius, and it was written in 121 CE. And the book covers the life of Caesar and the first 11 emperors of Rome. Now, Nero, he's probably got a worse rap than he deserves, because there's some sort of revisionist historians who are saying that maybe it wasn't quite as bad as has been made out. And actually, the 12 Caesars was one of those books that kind of really blackened his name. But in one part of the histories, Nero has an interesting plan to quell the rebellions in Gaul. And I'll let the man himself tell the story, okay? So I've got a video here.
Yeah, from the very, very early cameras.
Yes.
You will be aware of the considerable unrest in a great many parts of your empire. Perhaps you can share your intentions?
Intentions. He mentions intentions. My beloved Seneca once told me that an emperor must rule his empire as the gods rule the world. That is my intention. In 3 days, I will set out for Gaul myself and confront our enemies. They will learn the error of their ways. This will be a defining moment in Rome's new history, a revolution in the way Rome conducts its campaigns. I will quash my deluded enemy, not with the sword, but with art. My art! I intend to sing to them. First, I'll stand on the battlefield and let their gaze fall upon me. And then I will simply weep. And on seeing how deeply they hurt me, they will weep. And in the morning, I will stand before them again. And I will sing. And my voice will reach inside them, take hold of their hearts. And actually, I should get home and work on the song.
So, psychological warfare, maybe. Do you think that'd be effective?
Well, other weapons have proved it, so maybe not this version of it, though.
Now, Nero, he's not the last leader to sing. And here's the president of Turkmenistan with his grandson doing a little bit of a rap. So let's have a few seconds of this, shall we?
Yeah.
Sport and the health is inspiration, makes body strong and strong all the nations, gives you a joy and raise spirit high. Sports is the way to your healthy life.
Acayip havada, nurana mekan, hadar tolkunları, coşkun mukam, ak yolu yer, geceye bakan, öngedin öngü, can Türkmenistan.
Turkmenistan, Turkmenistan. How is amazing place Abaza, gasping waves and birds sing it down. Life is so wonderful in motherland, but spending and dazzling Turkmenistan.
Sport Türkmenistan, güzel havada.
So what do you think of that, Anton? Pretty good?
Yeah, I remember you showing me and I really liked it.
Yeah, so an effective weapon, though, do you think? To
Maybe
control the
not.
masses?
Maybe not.
No, I'm not too sure about that one either. So I think actually you might still be winning with your animal-based weapons at the moment.
But crazy, crazy rating, 8.
Yeah, I think Nero, yeah, if he really did that, so who knows if he did, but going out there to want to sing to the ghouls, maybe not the best idea if you're a